Come on.
Was
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and joining us. Hi, Fabian.
Hi, Kishan. How are you over there on the other side of the globe?
Yeah, it's nighttime and it's pretty cold.
Okay. Sorry to hear that. But yeah, the more blankets you put on, the more you can survive. We know that.
Okay, so we are going to talk about carrying and how we can break that cycle. So we all know this classic example of carrying about the Zen, the two monks, they one carry the girl across the water, and the other monk, after carrying her over the water, the other monk was raving how he broke the precepts and in contact with another woman. And so he was raving and lecturing this monk for like 2 whole hours as they walk home. And when they reach the temple, the other monk say, I dropped her 2 hours ago, but you still carry her to this time. So
Yes.
it's really wonderful example of how with this mind we carry and we relive the past and we rehatch resentment and trauma and woundings and we do this mostly because unconsciously, and number two, we haven't been taught that that this is bad for us, right?
The mental hygiene, so to speak.
Yes. So and it's not just a person carry what they carry from work home, but some people carry a trauma for their whole life, and it's very hard for them to let go. And their personality is ingrained and evolve in this complex where they identify themselves with the woundings, with the trauma, with the past. So in order for us to break the cycle and not, pass our beliefs, pass our dream, pass our projection onto the next generation, is to become more self-aware, to become, to put more emphasis in the present moment, to be here. Again, we come back to this power of mindfulness to break cycles. Excuse me.
Bless you.
I'm so sensitive to dust, so I'm always have this hay fever problem. So the importance of mindfulness to break the cycle, to keep us real and not carry stuff, not only from what happened to us at work, and we leave the stuff there, and when we come home we are able to spend with our family more wholesomely and 100% attention. If we have this attitude or notice in our awareness that we do carry stuff, and how do we go about letting it go? Just know that we do, and just know that it is bad for us. Just know that that we have a choice, we have control, and our control is where we focus our attention, where we can shift our attention. That is in our control. All right, so we can let go of what happened in the past or what happened this morning and bring it back to here, with our senses, with the people that is with us here now. Do you have any question?
Yeah, like commenting on the two monk story, that's a beautiful one because it really describes that, like that one monk trying to be kind, seeing that in this present moment, that person need help, need kindness, that woman to cross the river, and then he carries her, and then he lets her go. So and then but the other monk, like carrying this story and all this fabrication and identification with the monastic code, with the rules, what you should and what you should not, and all these concepts, and he carries in his mind, and he have radiating also bad energy and in that. So and he's suffering because of that, and even though it was a kind act from the other monks, but he could not see it. So I find it very interesting, and very important, that we talk about the carrying of stuff. So now, as you say, like, it is when we are a child, and it maybe starts from then on. That child took my tool, or my my game away from me, or and then the story begins, and then parents ask, what have you experienced today, and then the child goes and says this and this and that, but the negative thing, right? And so it carried it still, and it's just a small thing. It's just a tool for the sand, a small shovel, or whatever game, or a play toy, whatever. But it becomes more serious topics, of course, once we grow up. So, and then it's not only tools, it's actually what you said in the previous talk. It's human, dealing with human. And then we meet another human, and it says something which triggered a thing, a concept from what you have experienced years ago, maybe. And then you unfairly talk to the person from a certain mood, which came up because of what you have not let go yet from the past. So, and yeah, I find it very nice that we talk about the trauma, the wounding, and yeah, the personality and identification, and seeing life through this carrying of stuff and how bad it actually is. So, and not really a question, but yeah, finding it very important that we talk about that.
Now, it's not to belittle the process of the important of how we process our emotions. For example, if we've been bullied at work or at school, right? It's important to talk about it, right? But we got to know what is going on, that we are talking about it to process our thoughts, is to process our feelings, to make sense of things and how to move on. So that we don't go and have the unconscious work on us, and we go and have unhealthy coping mechanism like addiction and drinking and things. So not to belittling the process of processing, unpacking thoughts and feelings, but it's important to compartmentalize aspect of ourselves. For example, when we are having dinner with our family, then we are having dinner with our family. We are not processing thoughts. We are not reliving in the past. You know what I mean? So we need to know what reality we are in, and we are in it 100%. But also acknowledging part of us that needs to process, that needs to talk about, that needs to satisfy our craving, that needs to relive, right? But we need to know what we are doing that for, so we don't get mixed up with satisfying this part of us and get merged and into our work, into our relationship. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
when I say compartmentalize, so that we dedicated certain time for part of ourselves. In that way, we acknowledge all part of ourselves, accept all part of ourselves, and we give attention to it. So this, until we can transcend, or we can replace a certain happiness or for another, then we need to do what it is best that we can do at where we are at. So, like, for example, I see young people, right? They want to practice spirituality, and they go into the monastery, and then all of a sudden they pretend to be a monk, right? It's like, and then they renounce everything about themselves. And I find that's very drastic and unhealthy and quite dangerous.
So that person should, before ordaining, actually should slowly but steady, small and sort of start, not starve. Starve sounds so drastic, but lower the whatever sensual desire to a certain extent, and then ordaining, and then he would have a lot like easier time living, right?
Okay, so I don't want to go into that aspect of a person who decided to go forth and ordain. That's just too big of a topic to open up. But it's more about reducing. So instead of drastically cut some aspect of ourselves out, we reduce gradually, because this process is a gradual process. So it's like somebody stopping smoking. So instead of smoking 10 cigarettes a day, maybe do with 8. And then next week do with 6, next week do with 4. So gradually reconditioning our body, so that we're changing gradually and not drastically. You know what I mean? This is a smooth, gentle, kind way of allowing ourselves to change, to integrate, to adapt, and to function.
Yes, that's a good one. As I for myself know how that feels to withdraw from that habit. I mean, there's lots of different ways. Like there's also chewing gum or something like that. But it's what you say is like reducing, changing the habit towards a more wholesome one, setting the attention to let go, and living a happier life, as this body is the temple, which is sort of carrying the mind, right? So, and they correlate, right? They feed each other in a way. The body, if the body feels nice, also the mind feels nice in a way. Although it's been said that mind over matter, right? So
well, It's very interesting when you talk about mind and body, because we don't really know what the mind is or where it is until we sit and meditate for a long time, right?
Mhm.
And so you get to the stage where your body is solid. So like you transcend the body, you don't feel the body, but your mind is still there, right? And it's not um and it's not somewhere in the brain. It's not localized any one place. It is permeate through our whole body. That is our mind. So the mind is in our toe. The mind is in our cells. It's in every part of our body, permeate through our body. That's why when we have a psychological wounds, that wounds is large and we can feel in our physical body, because our mind is there. It's
Mhm.
not somewhere in space, it's not somewhere in the brain, and there's this lopsided computer system, and then the body is just the puppet, the robot. No, the mind is everywhere in our body.
Yeah, it's fantastic that you say that, because recently I've had a retreat, and and sometimes you have these feelings about yourself, and you read the Dharma and you hear some talks, and then you sort of know intellectually, just from the head, that you are not the body, right? The mind is not in the body. It's all the all this what the Buddha said. So um, and though I know that, and I thought I'm over this, I experienced like a thing which is like, so I had a middle ear infection 2 years ago, got it from a coughing child, and then whatever, and it's still there, right? So sometimes I'm breathing and then it pops, and then of course if you want to have silence and like you want to meditate, and then you breathe in and out and it pops with every breath. So
Oh,
and then I get yeah, and sometimes it's open and it feels like a third nostril, like so it's I don't know, it's some weird stuff going on in there. What I mean to say is that I got angry. I got angry and annoyed that this is happening. And actually, I also got disappointed because I thought, it ruins my time in order to gain some peace. So it's really a big hindrance on the path. So and then I suffered from that. And next few days, I experienced something else, like the sharpness of my left eye would go away. So I see everything very dizzy. So I look at the full moon and I see like almost double, right? And my eyes normally super nice. I don't need a glasses. So everything I see unsharp. I couldn't even read with my left eye. I'm like, what the heck? Am I having a stroke? So this worrying starts about the body, whatever you then feel. And I thought, okay, I'm over and done with the body. It's okay. I understand it's not me. It's not myself. But then just in that moment when I see that something is not working in a proper way, and as I'm used to it, then I see, okay, there's attachment. There's big attachment to that the body functions in a way, and that's where I realize it's so important to also keep the body as healthy as you can in a way, as long as you can, in order to develop the mind to such an extent and state, that you finally then can sort of understand letting go of it. So I found it
um,
interesting that you mentioned it, because the body is in every cell, the mind is in every cell. So I agree with that.
yeah, okay. So we're getting into the attitude of um, perceiving ourselves as not of the body and then renounce it. I see this is a very common misunderstanding among the people who practice. And so they would renounce their eating habit. They would get really skinny, or they would go, let go of their hygiene. So it's very unhealthy. What I'm saying is, until we can totally extinguish the sense of self, it is very important that we have a healthy attitude towards the self, okay, in all its aspects, including I am the body. I need to keep this body healthy, wholesome, and balanced, because it is my vehicle, right? It is my vessel, but not to go to the, it's always the middle ground, it's always the middle way. Don't go to the extreme and get too attached, but also at the same time, don't detach too early, because your vessel gonna sink, right? You need the boat to go to the shore, but if you let this vessel go too early, you'll sink. So it's healthy to have a balanced view of the self, but not in a identity way. It's in approaches as you would take care of your car.
Yeah, that's
right. Yeah, you have to respect your car, not ram it, at every green light. You gotta service it, you gotta feed it proper fuel and proper oil, you gotta check up. So your body take you to way, very far beyond goals and reaches of different dimensions and different realities. It's a really hard goals, right? So you need this vessel to be top notch service. So it will definitely have effects on your mind, because it's a connectedness until we are be expensive, but you can't. We are the five candles, right? We our existence in this reincarnation is the five candles. So just accept the five candles and make the best of it.
Yeah, that's true, because if you don't, or if you do it too early, then once you're mindful and then you experience one of the five khandhas, you're sort of having the wrong approach and wrong attitude towards them, and that results in having ill will towards the khandha, because you cannot control the khandha, like thoughts, for instance, coming up, and you don't want thoughts because you want to meditate and want to get peaceful, and thoughts come up, and then you're angry with yourself, right? But and not realizing that this is a natural there's the nature of the khandhas to do what they do, right? So so I totally agree with that. So so as we're talking about carrying stuff,
Okay.
up to actually the end of the life, right? So till very old age, when we carry stuff and not being free from it. So what is actually, how does it feel to not carry stuff? Like, can you say something about that?
Oh, okay. So it's depend on your ability to let go. Depend on our ability to live in the present. So even as we train, we already practicing. Um, uh, it's always the shift of perception, but the result is immediate, right? The moment we are in the present, in this reality, letting go of the past, letting go, then we find some peace, some contentment, some simplicity already. Now, if you the set, you can't carry if there's no self, right? It is the sense of self that is time-based, right? Time is self. Memory is self, right? So there is this documentary that I saw about this person who had an accident, and he totally forgot everything about himself, even like how to tie a shoe. And he doesn't know who he is, right? So his brother have to paint a picture for him but the compassion in his brother to paint a very positive and happy past history for him to have some kind of self develop, right? So our sense of self is the memory. Our sense of self is the past. Our sense of self is time. So when we live more and more in the present, we interrupt that process.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes. And living in the present, meaning actually being mindful of the four bases, or say pillars, which sort of carry mindfulness, right?
That's just too complicated. Make it simple. Living in the present is your mindfulness is here, right? You know what your hand is doing. You know what your body is eating. You know what you're smelling. You know what your senses is doing, right? And you're not, we're not in the mind. We're not into planning the future. We're not living in the past. That is what I mean by present moment.
Yes, and then you cannot carry anything, right? So you sort of, in a way, keep the mind or anchor the mind in the present moment, which is via the body. So in that, the body, the mind cannot hold on, identify, and cling on to old stories which you carry with you all day long. So it is sort of cutting the process or anchoring the mind in the body in the present moment, and you sort of forget about maybe trauma even, or maybe just about the one wounding.
Well, trauma is complicated. It's not about forgetting trauma. It's about dealing with the phenomenon that is happening now, right? So whatever that is happened to us and resurface now, it's not necessarily childhood, but it could be past lives also. Remember, remember the unconscious is huge, you know, and the tip of the iceberg is very tiny. So all of that can be, you know, dormant and could arise anytime during our present moment. And we don't know, right? To go into psychotherapy and try to understand the exact what happened, you know, with this phenomenon, is I found that's not beneficial. It might have, we can go to that another time. But what I'm saying is, whatever the trauma symptom that is arising today, now, we are dealing with it, whether it is pain, whether it is any depression, low mood, then we accept it. But you got to remember, we accept the pain and the bodily sensation. We don't accept the suffering. We don't accept the story making. We don't accept.
Sorry, in terms of like depression, right? So that's a very strong one. We're accepting that. But what are we doing? So would you say that we totally be refrained from distracting, like for instance, watching an uplifting, Netflix series, or doing whatever to distract the mind in order to get into a happier state? So what would you recommend such a person then?
Okay, if it is a recurring pattern, right, then you gotta ask yourself, what happened when I stay in this space? And remember, we talked in the in the previous clip, to stay, I mean to stay in the body. I mean to stay in the feeling. I don't mean to stay in the mind and making all these stories and weaving all this drama and going into self-chatter and critics. I don't mean all that. I mean stay in the body and feel the mood, whatever it is, in the body, in the sensation in the body. It's called somatic experience. And we are here, right? That's what I mean when I say stay with that mood, accept that mood, right? There might be time that you want to refocus and shift, but there are other times where we just need to accept and feel it until it passes. Yeah.
Yes, but that's so actually that's the beneficial thing, because you're sort of releasing that energy, you're letting it go, or in terms of the scenario of the iceberg, you sort of let the whatever big thing of the iceberg sort of loosen, or like break off that massive thing. Like if you're not so you're not suppressing it this way, right? So you're actually cutting that so that it can let go,
Yeah,
or that
it
it goes.
have. Yeah, it you basically you are allowing the energy, the space to be released, right? You, if we are meditating and something come up, then we need to maintain that space, relax, not tense up, not making stories, drama, and not distract and break the session, and just allow it to move through us and out.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, very, very nice and very important. The talk about carrying stuff and actually letting go of stuff, because yeah, it's basically what people do, right? And every one of us does, in a way, like carrying all this luggage and baggage. And I want to put it in a metaphor. When I used to travel through Australia, and I had this huge backpack, right? And then I, thought initially I need all that stuff. So that's me. That's my house I'm traveling with, so to speak, right? I'm a moving house, and all this clutter and stuff in there. And you think initially you need that, and then you travel through a city and you get some accessories, and you collect some shells, and what it's more weight, always putting more weight on. And actually, the only time when you really feel like a backpacker, or you feel like a person traveling through this great nature, is when you're letting go of the baggage, right? And letting go of all this sort of past issues, just for that moment, because then you can see how it is to be without heavy weight on the shoulder, right? So yeah. Would you agree with that metaphor?
Yeah, it's very nice. Also remember, how can the bird fly, right? It fly with its two wings unburdened. So that's the attitude we have to cultivate and develop. Just unburden ourselves so we can fly, so we can grow wings and fly, um, and expand ourselves.
Yes. Beautiful. Great. Okay. Well, for me, there's everything clarified. I have no more questions written down, and nothing else comes to mind, except if you wanted to say something else, I would say that, yeah, that's it for today.
Yeah. That's so only like a few minutes left, and just want to thank you everybody for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
Bye.